Hey everyone, Casey here with VanTripping.com and Mountain Bluebird. Hey, want to let you know of an upgrade I'm doing right now to Mountain Bluebird right here in the background. Built out the van. I had Illuminous build a custom roof rack. I don't know that they're building custom roof racks anymore, but I'll show you here. It's this custom roof rack. It's based on their, I think what they call their adventure line or something like that, that kind of rounded front. It's quite dirty now because I've been driving some in the snow, so you get all the debris and everything from the snow coming up, so the lights are a bit dirty and everything. You know, I had him build this custom roof rack, and in there is recessed a solar panel. And you can see it's actually recessed into the roof rack, which is really nice. It's flush. I built this custom fairing on the front here. I've got MaxTrax mount on the back there, and then my awning mount on the other side, which is what all the supports are for on that side. It's an electric 13-foot awning. So panel I have here, when I built out this van 4+ years ago, was about the best I could get for a good standard home-sized solar panel, which was by far the best value on a dollars per watt, on an efficiency, durability, everything else. I went with one really big, large panel. Makes wiring easier. I have one big panel. I don't have to worry about wiring in series or parallel or anything like, or have one panel be shaded and the other get full sun, and then, you know, you really don't get quite the output out of the one that is producing. So it's just a better way to go. It's a really stream way to go, and I still had enough room on the roof rack here to lay up here and look at the stars or get my kayaks up and everything else, which is part of the benefit of also having it mounted flush down inside, also better aerodynamics. However, this is a 240 watt panel, which like I said at the time was great. But now, several years later, for half the price, you can get basically about a 300 to 330 watt panel. And I wanted a little more solar output because oftentimes I find myself camping and, somewhat in the shade or in cloud cover in the wintertime. And in the wintertime, I'm actually using more energy because I run my heater more and just to combine to that. And it's still fine. I've got several days worth of battery power, but I just wanted a little more solar. But anyways, I was able to get a good deal on one that fits right in here. Almost exactly the same size. It'll produce, let's say it's rated at 70 watts more. 70 watts more doesn't sound like a lot, but that's, more than a third more power, right, coming from the same panel. So I'm going to replace this panel. And so today I'm going to do a solar panel extraction and replacement, which sounds easy enough, but being that it is fully embedded within the roof rack here, and I got a fairing on the front, and my mounts, you can see there's no mounts on the top. They are all underneath here. Is fairly easy to get to on this side, no problem. The other side, not. Maybe I'll just walk around and show you why. So this side, put a 1/2 inch black HDPE running all the way down to here, which is about where I need to disconnect the panel. And that was for aerodynamics. It was to mount these extra lights that I have here. I have lights on each side, the rear, and of course the front, as well as what I call a porch light. And then I've also got the awning lights. So it's really hard to get in there. So either I take the fairing off on the front, which like I said isn't that hard, and I can reach in there that way, but I'm actually going to try to do it from the other side so I don't have to take that off. It's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to walk you through doing that, and it should hopefully be pretty exciting to get another 70 watts of solar on the roof. So I'll start it up on the roof with disconnecting the existing mounts from underneath that solar panel. There are a couple different mounts on each corner that have to be unscrewed, and then the whole those can be swung around and the panel can be lifted out. You'll see I do bring a vacuum up there to clean out kind of all the debris from bugs and dust and little tree branches and stuff like that that accumulated up there over the years. I struggled to get the two existing MC solar connectors disconnected. Did have to use this little key here to get those disconnected. Fortunately, those do come with most solar panels or those solar wire connectors, but you do need those to get them disconnected. And then I used some old climbing strap from my old days climbing, ice climbing and rock climbing to go ahead and rig the panel up to my hoist that I installed in my garage. and that's a 500-pound lifting hoist, and so I could lift this panel up and out and over and swing it down. See, if you're installing or uninstalling and installing a new solar panel, you may not necessarily have a hoist to be able to lower it up and down, but you can see here I did still use a ladder on the side there, and I probably should have been wearing a climbing helmet while I was lowering it down, just for safety. Panels, old panels on the ground. I've got the new panel here right next to it. I want to show you the difference. It's pretty remarkable. So this is the old panel here on the left, the white backing. This one right here. And you can see it is two things. One is it is quite a bit, it's at least 1/4 of an inch, probably more like 3/8 of an inch thicker. It's got those cross bracings, which of course add a little bit of aerodynamic drag up there, even though it's embedded within a roof rack and behind a fairing. It's tiny, but nonetheless, in most applications, it could add more. And it's pretty much exactly the same panel as size as the new panel, exterior dimensions, other than the fact the new panel is thinner, which is great. The new panel's also got this nice black backing, which is really nice, so just a little more discreet up there on the roof. I'm going to figure out the mounts, but I'm going to show you a little tip. This is a simple tip. The MC4 connectors, these solar connectors, you really can't get them wrong. You can see there's a male and a female version here, so they only go in one way or the other. Embossed in there, a positive and negative. It's really hard to see, and so when you start getting this mounted on the roof, and you got it's shaded from light because it's upside the other way around, right? This is on the bottom now. It may be hard to see, and just to make sure there's no problem with the wiring, right? I like to take some red electrical tape, wrap it around the positive end of the positive, and I'll probably wrap it up here at the beginning of that too, just to make sure like it's absolutely clear that there is no question what it was. I did the same thing on my old one with this red tape, red electrical tape on the positive. So that way, again, it's just absolutely clear. Now I got to figure out how to mount this. I'm going to change my mounts on this from what I did before to make it a little bit easier to both install and uninstall. My idea is that basically I'm going to tilt it from the side that I can't get to, where it's going to kind of clasp underneath. And then I'm just going to swing the little levers around, my mounts around on the side I can get to, and just bolt those in, and one in the front, one in the back, and I think that's going to be more than sufficient. I calculated out the lift that is on this panel without any kind of fairing or anything like that, which I do have. It was only like 100 pounds. It was really pretty trivial. That's the maximum lift really at top highway speeds. So it's not much force. And I'm going to, like I said, I have a fairing, so that probably cuts it down to way less than half that. One of the things I am going to do, though, before I also do all this work, is I am going to carry this outside. We still have a little bit of sun left. And I'm going to point it into the sun, put my voltmeter up to it, and just make sure that it works before I get all mounted. Just a good thing to do, right? Just make sure I've got some power coming out of it before I finish mounting it. So it's always a good thing to do with any electronic component before you install it, just to test it out, just to make sure you're not spending all the effort and time to install something and have it not work. So I'm going to do that with this panel too. Here's a pretty cool little test we're going to do. I've got new panel right here on the right. And I have old panel right here on the left. I have my voltmeter, DC volts. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to measure how much power each panel is generating here in my garage. Artificial light. And you can see here 18.5-ish roughly for the old panel. All right. And like I said, they're both basically lined up right next to each other. Really nothing's really different between them. The light, they happen to both be like right between two different lights. New panel, 28. Okay? Substantial improvement, right? So 28 volts, this is just volts, not amps, but still. Again, 28 versus 18. That is such a big improvement. And all that is, exact same size panel, in the same position. This one obviously is a little dirty. Maybe go a little bit higher if it was cleaner, but there you go. That's a pretty neat little test. So the way I created the mounts is I went ahead and riv nutted in some riv nuts into the factory holes in the solar panel frame, and then attached with some stainless screws, some high strength PVC and structural fiberglass pieces that I had left over, which are both made for outdoor use, UV resistant, and incredibly strong yet lightweight and non-conductive.
both thermally and electrically. So very good use for this. Also doesn't really scratch the panel frame or the bottom of the roof rack.
High strength PVC. It's perforated just because I had some leftover remnants. It's incredibly strong. I got these bolted in with multiple washers, cushioning washer and lock washers, into rib nuts on rib nuts into the whole factory holes on these panels on this side. It's going to angle in, it's going to slot in, so it's going to angle in and boom, it's going to rest right underneath there. These are incredibly strong and tight. They'll support all the weight. And then this side, the side I can reach, I have these swing out mounts. So it's already bolted in on one to make it a lot easier when mounting. And then all I do, once I get this underneath there, this will be out of the way. I can swing this out. I'll put this bolt in. It's going to capture underneath here, and voila. I'm going to do the same thing in the front. So that right there is going to make this fairly easy to bolt in and take it out ever later again if I need to. So now I've just got to get this up in there, connect the wires, and then just come around the side and bolt it in from the side over there. So that's it. Let's go do it. Okay, I'm just going to go over one more thing before I mount the panel up here. So I just want to show you a couple things I have going on here. So one is, you can see I have two antennas. I have a CV antenna on a spring mount, and I have my ham radio antenna as well. These are just each short enough so they can fit in my garage. Important thing. And then you can see a couple of things here. One is I got my antenna wires coming up to each one on each side. There's the one of CB, and here's my ham radio one coming up. This is a ground that just simply goes to the mount on each one of these. It should be incredibly well grounded, but just to make sure I have a high SWR, a good transmission, I've mounted a ground wire in each one, and then I put a fuse on this just in case ever the roof rack gets struck by lightning or something, it will at least open up that fuse. The other thing here is this is my roof clamp, and I intentionally put it underneath the solar panel so it is totally protected by weather. It is bolted down through a big, like 1.5 inch conduit nut, bolted through to the interior of the van, and that's the only hole, just one big hole, and then it's Sikaflexed all the way around the entire thing on the bottom of this. So the entire thing is Sikaflexed, so there's really no water can get in there. Not only that, but because it's shielded by the panel, really no water really gets into this space. It's going to be quite well protected in snow. And yet I can take this off and then get it on all different panels. You can see, I mean, all different my connections here. So I have all my wires coming through. Most of them go continuously all the way right down through into the van through switches. The exception really is I have a negative bus. It's a shared negative bus, so I don't have to have a separate negative for every single one of these. The only exception really being the solar panels. Those I do want a separate negative. But all the rest of these come in through a wire gland that is sealed and tightened to the size of that wire coming in. So each one of these is watertight, and then they come in and they go and pass through. So it's incredibly robust, strong, and watertight, but yet it can still take this off and get to them all if I need to. And of course, like I said, there's a shared negative bus up here, so I only had to bring in one really big negative wire and then share that amongst all the different wire connections I have here. So it's pretty sweet setup. And so anyways, I'm going to put the solar panel on now, and let's get this done. Okay, here we go. Last two bolts. Panel is up. I will say, look at this new panel. I am really stoked that it is more flush with the top of the roof rack, like almost perfectly flush with the top of the roof rack. That just makes it look so much better than being proud of it by 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. This new panel just looks so slick, being nice shiny black. Success. First bolt is aligned and started. That is super tight. That is so nice. Now, this panel, no movement at all. It is solid. Yeah, bravo. Now, let's show you the progress. Look at that beautiful panel. Is that a beauty or what? Oh, look at that glistening everything. Look how nice and flush it is right with the top of the roof rack. Oh man, I see my even my fairing here pushes the wind like 2 inches up over the panel, much higher needed, but that's okay. It'll help with the aerodynamics. So there you go. Pretty sweet. Finally, a new panel. Now I just have to go out in the sun tomorrow and check it out. Make sure it's producing all the power I want. Okay. Talk to you later. Go ahead and subscribe. Give me any comments, any questions you have, and I'll try to help you out. Thanks for watching. And here's that new panel, and it works great. Thanks for watching.